Hello, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar on the topic of Bulgarian citizenship. Thank you very much for attending. And my name is Ivan Petrov, and I'm here joined with my colleague, Ms Nevena Bekyarova.
Hello.
As I mentioned, my name is Ivan Petrov, and I'm a business development expert at New Balkans Law Office. New Balkans Law Office is a full-service law firm in the field of immigration matters, and we are offering services to high net worth individuals and private clients interested in setting up a foothold in Bulgaria. Um, I'm a business development expert at the firm and have been with the firm for the past 4 years. I would let Ms Nevena Bekyarova tell you a little bit more about herself as well.
Hello, I'm Nevena Bekyarova and I'm a senior associate at New Balkans Law Office. I have been assisting clients, private clients with citizenship and immigration matters for the past 5 years. Today our focus will be citizenship by investment and how this can be obtained, what are the various ways, but we do also provide a number of services when it comes to other types of immigration and citizenship based on other grounds. So we have vast experience in this area, and we will be happy to help you if you find this to be something that may help you in the future. Indeed, talking about the future, this is something that may catch your attention because it's a very hot topic. Having the option to choose from different citizenships that you may hold. Having the option to plan for your future. Don't you think, Ivan, that this is
Yeah.
indeed something very important?
Yes, certainly. Holding a second residence or a second citizenship can be a very valuable asset, especially in these tumultuous times that are the COVID-19 epidemic. These type of events, they're quite dramatic and they make people think, what do we want from the future? Like a second residence or a second passport would allow people to travel freely. It would give them beneficial business tax and legal protections, and certainly access to healthcare. Unfortunately, healthcare is not to the same degree everywhere in the world, but being a permanent resident of a country or a citizen of another country would give you immediate access to the healthcare in that country. So this is something very, very important. People like right now are starting to think, what can I do for me and my family so that I can offer them a better way? How can I structure my plans and my estate so to make sure that in the future they would be very well protected? And certainly having a second passport or a residence, even like a permanent residence, offers these kind of protections. Don't you think so, Nevi?
Indeed, protecting your family and assets may be key in such a time of crisis, and that's why perhaps having a second citizenship is very useful to any investor. It especially helps even when someone wishes to plan for their future and for estate planning and management, it may be quite helpful.
Yes, certainly. And there are a number of ways how you can obtain a second residence or citizenship. As Nevena mentioned, there are multiple grounds on which applicants can be eligible to apply for permanent or residence or citizenship. Today's seminar will focus on only one ground. There are multiple others, and we would let people who are interested in that let us contact us via the email that you're going to see at the end of the seminar. But today's focus is going to be on Bulgaria and the fact that Bulgaria offers a citizenship by investment program. What makes Bulgaria more different than everything else, Nevena?
Yes, thank you, Ivan. Well, first of all, let us just inform you that Bulgaria joined the EU in 2007, and now its citizens can live, work, study, and travel freely within the European Union member states. Bulgarian passport holders can travel visa-free to a number, I think, over 150 countries. So this is something that you may wish to take into consideration. There are other programs available out there, and certainly there is a variety that one can choose from. But what makes Bulgaria unique is that at the moment you have a recoverable investment. So your investment is not a donation. You are expected to receive the principal and certain returns back. This is because the investment can be in Bulgarian government bonds, which are viewed as a low risk and quite secure investment. This has been our practice, that generally this is preferred by the investors, as they can monitor their investment and can expect to get it back in the future. One of the other advantages in Bulgaria is the fact that you are not required to speak the language. There is no minimum residency required, which means that you need to make a several trips to Bulgaria, which are related to your application, but you are not technically required to stay in Bulgaria or spend a certain amount of days, which I think is a great advantage, Ivan, because we have seen in other residency programs that there is a minimum stay requirements, and the applicant is required to spend certain amount of days or months even in a certain country.
Yes, certainly. What you're raising as a point is a very valid point when it comes to choosing a program for second passport or residence. As you mentioned, there are a number of programs on the market, and each one fits each individual's needs. However, one has to consider the fact whether or not, if you're quite busy, you have the time to actually physically reside in that country, whether or not you would be required to learn the language, and most importantly, from a financial point of view, what happens to your investment. A lot of these programs, they are talking about investments, but an investment in itself, it should be recoverable. This is something that the Bulgarian program offers, and this is certainly something that needs to be more carefully taken into consideration. And the very fact that uniquely among other programs, Bulgaria would allow children over 18 to also apply for citizenship, that makes it quite attractive. Isn't that the case, Nevena?
Yes, that is correct. So, family members of the main applicant can benefit from the program as well. So, spouses and children, as you mentioned, under the age of 18 and above 18 can benefit from Bulgarian citizenship should their respective parents decide to go under one of our routes. Also, Bulgaria allows for dual citizenship. So the applicants or family members are not required to renounce current citizenship. So I think this is something that allows maneuverability for applicants, allows them to make the better choices for them. And speaking about Bulgaria, Ivan, I think it would be best to let the attendees know a bit more about the threshold, about the required amount and the investment classes that one needs to consider.
Yes, certainly. It's very important when it comes to programs like this to be very well aware of what the requirements are. So in general terms, the Bulgarian program is an investment program. As Nevena mentioned, the investment is recoverable, which is very, very important. We would be looking in at the so-called standard and fast track. The process is initially started by people investing a minimum of 1 million Bulgarian lev, or this is approximately €500,000. So this investment can be made in a number of eligible investment classes, which suit each individual investor's needs, and we will go over them in more detail a little bit later. So the first investment of €500,000 makes applicants eligible for permanent residence. Once they are granted this permanent residence, they have two options. Either go on with this permanent residence and do not make any additional investments. They would need to maintain this investment for 5 years and keep the permanent residence for 5 years. And after that, they can apply for citizenship. The other option, which is known as the fast track, expedites this process. After holding the permanent residence for at least 1 year, applicants would be allowed to make a second investment of the same amount or another €500,000 for a total of €1,000,000, and they would be eligible to apply for citizenship immediately. So in the first case, we would be looking at a holding period of approximately 6 years for the investment. At the second case, which is the fast track, there is like an additional requirement that needs to be taken into account. The legislation states that the investment must be maintained for an additional 2 years past grant of citizenship. So if we are looking at approximately 2 years to citizenship and 2 more years to maintain the investment, we would be looking at a holding period of approximately 4 years. So it's important to note that you do not choose standard or fast track at the very beginning. The process is actually started with one single investment. And after 1 year, you would be eligible to make the second investment, and that is a choice that you need to make at that time. If you do not have the funds available, you can simply wait and wait for the full 5 years and then apply for citizenship. However, if you need to speed up the process, you can certainly make this second investment to speed it up. Doesn't this give a lot of flexibility for applicants, Nevena?
Indeed, Ivan, you're quite right. I think that gives a lot of flexibility because you're not required to make the decision right away at the very beginning. So you have the time to consider, to manage your assets, to source funds, and just take the process, whatever fits, the way it should fit your needs perfectly. So you have this choice to make at certain stage. Uh, Ivan, perhaps I should tell a bit more about the fact that there are certain active investments that one can make. Or do you wish to expand a bit more about the variety of other not so active
Let us
investment
focus
types?
first on what is most interested to the market. Like most of the people would prefer to make the investment in government bonds. As we mentioned before, there are a myriad of classes that are eligible under the Bulgarian program. That makes it unique. However, we have learned from statistics there have been over 400 people who have applied for the program since the inception of the legislation, who have gone for a so-called passive approach of investment, and they have invested in Bulgarian government bonds. Bulgarian government bonds are savings instruments, and they are very risk-free. Like the risk level is very low. When you invest in government bonds, you are essentially lending to the government, and the government is giving you some kind of interest every year. This makes the investment very, very secure. And the fact that these type of government bonds, they are traded on the secondary market quite liquidly, makes it a very interesting investment class for most of the people who do not have the time to actually set up a whole new business or be more active in their participation. People simply buy the bonds, hold the bonds in their own custody account, and that is the only factor that makes them eligible. They wouldn't be required to even open an account in Bulgaria or move money to Bulgaria. They can use their own bank to purchase the bonds, which has been quite attractive for people from all over the world. Isn't that the case, Nevi?
Yes. I think that people feel more secure when they have immediate control over the investment, over their funds. So this gives them the peace of mind that they are still in control of the funds, that the funds haven't been lost completely, and that they are recoverable.
Yes, certainly there are other investment classes for more active investors. For example, for people who are interested in stock markets, they can invest in the shares of a company which is listed on the Bulgarian Stock Exchange. The Bulgarian Stock Exchange, unfortunately, is quite smaller than the stock exchanges in London or Hong Kong, but it still has like a certain companies that can give you higher returns. Of course, with higher returns comes higher risk. So this would depend on certainly the investors' risk appetite and how well they have done their research. If people are interested in acquiring shares of a company, we work with a number of financial brokers who can assist you with that respect. But this is something for people who are more interested in active investment. There are other types of investments, such as an investment into intellectual property. This is for the really sophisticated investors who are interested in having some kind of trademark or some kind of computer code which needs to be independently evaluated, and it needs to meet the threshold of €500,000 before you become eligible for permanent residence. And another option, which is quite unique about the Bulgarian program, and it needs to be mentioned, is the fact that you can set up your own company. This is a private company, and it can be under your control, and you would need to invest in the capital of this company at least 6 million Bulgarian lev, or this is approximately €3 million. What makes this option unique is the fact that once you set up this company, you can use the capital of this company to carry out investments within Bulgaria or outside of Bulgaria, meaning that you're using this vehicle as your investment vehicle. So it's very important to have an idea of how you would wish to structure your investment and how it would best suit your investment needs. But most people, as we mentioned, they prefer a more passive approach. However, there is a certain number of people who are actually active investors. They're interested in investing in Bulgaria, interested in setting up a company in Bulgaria, so that they can approach certainly other options such as the certified investment projects and even to hire Bulgarian employees. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Nevena?
Yes, so the option that I will mention at the moment, as Ivan mentioned, for the active investor, for investors who would like to actually have their business relocated here or have their business developed here. These are options that allow you to qualify for permanent residence if, for example, you wish to set up a company here, make a contribution to the capital of approximately €250,000 and employ 10 Bulgarian citizens. So this is for the more active type of investor. Other investment classes are the certified investment projects, as Ivan mentioned. These projects are widely popular because they do offer certain advantages. They are supported by the government, even promoted, and they allow for certain facilitated stages when someone wishes to obtain a building permit or some other administrative services. The certain amounts that it generally takes for these types of administrative steps are significantly decreased. So this is something that the more active businessmen may wish to take into consideration. This is a topic for a detailed conversation. So if you find this to be of interest to you, certainly please contact us and we can discuss this at length, so that you are well aware of the options that you have to proceed with setting up your business here in Bulgaria. But perhaps now, as part of our presentation, we should focus a bit more about the exact steps, because this is something that we have been asked by clients often, and this is something that they wish to be aware of and that they wish to be prepared for. First, let us take the bonds option. First, you make an investment of €500,000. you can use your existing banking relationship, as we mentioned earlier. Once this investment is made, we will help you procure an investment certificate, so that with this investment certificate and a number of other documents, you can apply for your visa. Once the visa is obtained, the applicant needs to make the first trip to Bulgaria and apply for permanent residence permit. This is just a one-day trip. We will be at your disposal. We will take you to the migration department, and we will be able to assist you as needed in Bulgaria. After this trip, the applicant will need to make another trip to, once the residence permit is granted, we make certain registrations locally, and we ensure that the applicant can come to Bulgaria to apply for his Bulgarian ID card. This requires a longer trip because, of course, as any other official document, it takes a couple of days to be issued, but you should plan for no more than 4 days. After that, as Ivan mentioned, you have obtained your permanent residence, and you can decide to either wait for 5 years and then apply for citizenship, or after a year, double the investment, meaning that you invest a second €500,000, and you are then eligible to apply for citizenship at that moment. You can choose to apply for citizenship either in Bulgaria or at the Bulgarian consulate abroad. There is a network of Bulgarian consulates, so there should be a consulate close to your location of residence that you will be able to use. I think it is fair to say that this is a very straightforward procedure, and certainly it's not something that is burdening in any way to the applicant. What do you think, Ivan?
Yes, as you pointed out, it is quite straightforward. This is, after all, a residency program and a citizenship program, and it would be very reasonable to expect that applicants would need to have would need to meet certain checks and balances. Going for a visa, this is something very standard. Like most people, even when you need to travel, you need to have some kind of application, even for a tourist visa, be it online. However, since we're talking about permanent residence, which gives you essentially almost the same rights as a citizen of a country, it would be very reasonable to expect that for certain steps, such as the visa application, such as the residence ID application, you would be expected to present in front of the authorities in Bulgaria. This is the similar as in the cases of many other programs. So this certainly doesn't create that much of a barrier for people who are interested. And considering the fact that Bulgaria can be quite flexible in the terms of how long the visa is issued for, how long the permanent ID card is issued for, this would allow for people to tailor their own approach when applying. And certainly the very fact that you don't need to stay for very long in Bulgaria is very, very important. Like, this certainly makes sense if you're quite busy, you run your own business, and you do not have the time to spend longer periods in Bulgaria or somewhere else. For now, let us just talk a little bit more about the purely practical aspects of this process, which is very important. A lot of people, they understand the steps, they understand the requirements, but there are certain questions that we are being asked, mainly about documents and how to go about making the investment. So, as we mentioned, we are going to look at the investment in government bonds. This is something that has been most commonly used by investors, and this is something that has been used by all of our clients. This investment can be executed either in Bulgaria or outside of Bulgaria. So this gives you this security that your investment would be under your own control throughout the entire process. You can use your own existing banking relationship to set up a custody account and buy the bonds. If you already have some kind of portfolio, you can switch some of the assets in this portfolio from one asset type to Bulgarian government bonds, and that would also make you eligible to apply. Or certainly, if you do not have access to a banking relationship, since we have been in the field of immigration for a very, very long time, we have a network of experienced financial institutions who would be able to assist you with opening a new account and executing the purchase. We have worked with banks in Asia, we have worked with banks in Europe, we have worked with banks even in the Americas. It's important to know that each bank has its own KYC and due diligence requirements, so this would take some time, but if people are interested in this, we would be more than happy to refer them to some of our partners, which include DBS, Citibank, certain private banks in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, like Julius Baer. Isn't that the case, Nevi?
Yes, yes. I think having a trusted partner in this endeavor is very important. And we do have a number of people that we can introduce, and we can help you with setting up your banking relationship. I think this is very important, so that you are, this is something that is done at the very beginning, so that you are very then calm that everything is under control of professionals. And this is something that would give you the desired peace of mind, so that you can focus on other certain aspects of your life that may need your immediate attention. And we have a great experience in assisting applicants. We know that the other aspect is having documents recognized from one country to another. We have assisted with a number of cases in this field as well, Ivan.
Yes, certainly. Like the other aspect, as you mentioned, that is very important for applicants is like documents. What kind of documents do I need to procure, and what kind of documents do I need to supply is one of the most commonly asked questions when people approach us. We are going to guide you by step for the process, because at each step, a different set of documents would be required. We would be assisting you for each step to procure the right documents, and then subsequently to have the proper legalization so that the documents can be used. As most of you know, or maybe some of you don't, the official language of Bulgaria is Bulgarian, even though most people speak English, so we would feel very comfortable living and settling down in Bulgaria. All documents would need to be properly legalized and translated into Bulgarian. We have experience handling this, and considering the fact that you can have documents from multiple jurisdictions, one needs to be very careful about how to procure them and what kind of legalization steps need to be taken from each jurisdiction. For example, there are jurisdictions like Russia where you don't need any additional legalizations. There are countries that are part of the Hague Convention where just a simple apostille works, whereas with other countries, you would need to go for the long way of legalization. We have seen and done it almost. So isn't this the case, Nevi?
Yes, yes. It's. I think that the Hague Convention has been very helpful. For example, documents from all over the world, including places like India and Australia, do have the apostille, which makes the process much easier for applicants, as opposed to having a long legalization process.
Yes, certainly. And another point that I would wish to raise for most people who are interested in approaching this is you would need to evaluate your own risks, because this is I understand that this is a very difficult decision and it requires a significant financial investment. There are a number of risks that you need to consider. One of the risks is certainly like the financial risk. What is going to happen with my investment? As we mentioned before, what's unique about Bulgaria is the fact that the investment is in a secure savings instrument, meaning that your money is essentially safe and there is a proper exit strategy. With a lot of other programs, you do not have an exit strategy. The investment is either a donation or some kind of investment in real estate. And when it comes to real estate, it's very difficult to predict what kind of exit strategy you would have in 2 years or in 5 years. So having this option to invest in government bonds makes the Bulgarian program quite attractive. However, this is only one of the risk factors that you need to take into consideration. What other risk factors are there, Nevi?
Well, as any program, everything may be changed. So not only in Bulgaria, but such programs we have across Europe in other countries such as Cyprus and Malta. You always have that risk of a change in the conditions, in the available investment classes. For example, at some point last year, Cyprus did introduce an additional donation of 150 euro. So this is something that one needs to consider. We have had in Bulgaria certainly a certain amount of debate on what the investment classes should be. There has been a wide EU comment about the safety and how these programs should be properly managed and the checks of the applicants carried out carefully. But in Bulgaria, what we do tell clients that are at the moment trying to decide how to proceed, what we do say about Bulgaria is the fact that you have a very clear exit strategy, which I think mitigates a lot of the risks that other programs may have at the moment. So this is something that you would need to consider, and we can talk about at length should you decide.
Yes, certainly, you raised some very good points. Well, I guess that this gives you like a general view of the Bulgarian program, the steps, requirements, and how you would go about if you're interested in starting the process. We would be happy to talk with you, so you can use our email, which you are going to see on the next slide. And our email is cbi@newbalkanslawoffice.com. You can send us an email if you have any kind of interest in starting the process, or you can ask a question via Zoom's Q&A function. Please leave your name and email so that we can get back to you. Certainly, we as a full-service law firm work not only with high net worth investors, but also other people who would be interested in immigrating to Bulgaria. So we are open to further discussion with people as well. I would like to thank you very much for joining us today, and I'm sure that Nevena would also like to express her gratitude.
Yes, it was a great pleasure hosting this webinar. We hope that you have found it useful, that you have enjoyed it, and we remain at your disposal should you wish to have should you have any additional questions. Ivan, it was a pleasure having this discussion with you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and we are going to see you later. Take care.
Take care.